So up first, we have Deputation 7.1. And I understand that Manjula Das, who originally was going to be the deputant, who is the Secretary for Applewood Hills and Heights Residents Association regarding the Bloor Street Integrated Project, will not be joining us today, but in her place, Athena Tagadou will be joining us. Is that correct, Diana?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and is she
She's here.
Online? Okay, thank you very much.
Good morning. Mayor Crombie's not in attendance from YDC, but I will begin, and thank you very much for this opportunity. Good morning, members of City Council, city staff involved in the Bloor Street Integrated Project for Ward 3, and all City of Mississauga staff. On behalf of the Applewood Hills and Heights Residents Association, I will now address the community petition that has been submitted with this agenda, requesting that no bicycle lanes anywhere on Bloor Street between Cawthra and Dixie be constructed by the city so that the safety and lives of the public who use this section of Bloor Street daily is not endangered. Section 7 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms pertaining to public health hazards states that after a review of relevant Canadian court decisions, it has been determined that Section 7 does extend to protecting members of the public against government decisions and that create a serious public health hazard. Provinces have laws that give broad powers to identify and deal with health hazards, recognizing the importance of protecting the public from preventable death or injury. Quote taken from Charter. Section 7 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms further provides, and I quote, "Everything has a right to life, liberty, and security, the person and the right not to be deprived thereof." It further defines as follows: right to life. This means state action that increases the risk of death involving the right to life. This includes indirect actions such as barriers to health care for life-threatening conditions. Quote was taken from the Charter. The city, by constructing bicycle lanes on Bloor Street between Cawthra and Dixie, will increase the risk of accidents resulting in serious, debilitating injuries or death as homeowners and businesses on a daily basis struggle to negotiate the bicycle lanes while exiting or entering the extremely busy 4-lane Bloor Street from their homes and or businesses. Pedestrians using the sidewalks as well as drivers backing out of or entering their driveways are exposed to dangers from speeding cyclists who cause serious accidents as they presently use sidewalks whenever they choose. This past summer, there were 2 cycling vehicle accidents at the Bloor-Runnybrook intersection causing serious injury and, from what is known, death to one of the cyclists. Point 2, rights to liberty. This means right to enjoy individual dignity and independence, including decisions about how a person wants to live his or her life, and freedom to make fundamental personal choices such live in safety, protect oneself and family from bodily harm. Quote taken from the Charter. The city, by constructing bicycle lanes on Bloor Street between Cawthra and Dixie, will strip us of the freedom to make fundamental personal choices of our individual dignity to live without fear and the individual independence to choose on how we live our lives in our homes as well as out on Bloor Street. And finally, usurp from us our right to make fundamental personal choices to live in safety, protecting our lives, ourselves and our families from bodily harm. Point 3, rights to security. Has a physical aspect and a psychological aspect. The physical aspect includes state action that prevents a person from making choices that affect a person's own body. The psychological aspect is affected when a person experiences serious state-imposed day-to-day stress. Quote taken from Charter. The city, by constructing bicycle lanes between Cawthra and Dixie, will subject the public to serious state-imposed daily mental stress, anxiety, fears, negatively impact people's lives, and prevent a person from making choices to protect his own and his family's body. Point 4, principles of fundamental justice. Section 7 of the Charter requires that laws or state actions that interfere with life, liberty, and security of the person conform to the principles of fundamental justice. The basic principles that underlie our notions of justice and fair process. Quote taken from Charter. Canada is a democracy, and no one is above the Canadian law. This Bloor Central area, as identified in the Bloor Street Integrated Project, is the only section, and I repeat, is the only section from all other same or similar city projects which has residential homes and driveways directly fronting onto Bloor Street. There are 101 residential properties, 3 condominium buildings, 2 rental buildings, as well as a plaza with over 18 businesses, 3 professional establishments, a preschool, and an auto mechanic shop, all with direct and entrance exit to Bloor Street only. More than 75% of the residents, as well as Applewood Hills Plaza owner and medical building, daycare, auto center, and in the Bloor Street Central area, support this petition of no bicycle lanes on the stretch for the safety of all pedestrians, drivers, and cyclists. The majority of the residents and businesses located directly on Bloor Street between Dixie and Cawthra have spoken loud and clear and have made Ward 3 Councillor Fonseca fully aware of all the danger she will be putting them into should bike lanes be placed. We have alerted you to the accidents you will be exposing us and our families and business clients to on a daily basis. As public officials appointed to uphold the Canadian Constitution, your actions are governed by the Canadian Charter. There are legal implications which have been made known to you of any accidents that will result from bicycle lanes on Bloor Street between Cawthra and Dixie. With full knowledge of risks of accidents, you would be placing Ward 3 residents and all public in harm's way, and you will not be able to plead ignorance of the implications of your actions nor ignorance of the Charter and its provisions as a defense in legal actions that will result in future. Kindly exercise discretion, responsibility, compassion, and wisdom, and be governed by the Charter when making a safe and litigation-free decision to have no bicycle lanes on Bloor Street between Dixie and Cawthra of this Bloor Street Integrated Project. Thank you. And please note that we are receiving more letters from residents who live directly on Bloor Street who are not in agreement to bike lanes on Bloor Street and between this particular section between Cawthra and Dixie. And as mentioned, this is the only area from the other projects as well, including the Rathburn Pony Trail one, that does not have, this is the only area that has homes and businesses that directly front onto Bloor Street, and this is the only access to get out of their homes is via Bloor Street. Thank you very much for your time, and if you have any questions, please do ask me and I will respond.
Okay, thank you very much, Athena. I think it is appropriate at this time to also move up the petition, so 14.1, because the presentation is in direct the presentation is in direct response to the petition. So could I have somebody move up 14.1, please? Moved by Councillor Parrish. All in favor? Okay, thank you very much. Do I need a seconder for that, Diana? No. Okay. Okay. Now that has been done, I do have some. Before I speak to this, I am the ward councillor, but before I speak to it, I do have some hands raised on the board. So, Councillor Sato.
Mayor, my question is for staff. So the resident is claiming that because there are driveways and there are bike lanes, that there will be additional collisions. We don't use the word accident anymore because they aren't accidents, they're collisions. So I'd like to ask staff, I have a quite extensive bike pathway, multi-use trail along Thomas Street, which directly fronts multiple residences, townhomes, etc., a plaza, a church, and other multiple driveways along that road. Could you tell me, has there, in all the years that it's been there, have we had any collisions between cyclists, pedestrians, and vehicles other than those that might be caused by vehicles not stopping before as they're exiting the driveways, which seems to be the biggest safety hazard that we have?
Thank you, Councillor. I'll have to refer to staff that are on the call from our active transportation office if they have the data on the Thomas Street multi-use trail. If not, we'll certainly provide that data back to you. So perhaps over to you, Helen. Do you have any data on collisions on Thomas Street multi-use trail?
Well, through the chair to answer the question, we don't have that information with us today, but it's definitely data that we can pull and provide back to you, Councillor Sato. Just give us a couple of days to pull the data.
Okay, thank you. I just think that should be looked at because we do have experience with bike lanes on many locations where we have multiple driveways. I understand the concern that residents coming out of their driveway don't want to be confronted by an additional cross traffic, but I assume the cross traffic is there today. Bike cyclists are going to use the road. Could you confirm also the bike lanes that are proposed to Bloor? Because I'm going through a very similar project right now, and of course we're putting them in and we're reducing lanes on the road to keep everyone safe, particularly pedestrians, as part of our Vision Zero strategy. But these bike lanes, are they protected bike lanes? Because the Charter of Rights also extends to people who are cycling on the road, that we have a responsibility to keep them safe as well. So are they protected, not just by paint, but are they fully protected bike lanes as to what we're looking at on our other streets?
Through you, Chair Fonseca, to Councillor Sato. We're in the middle of the study, Councillor. We're not finalized on the design concept at this point.
Okay.
Right now, we've analyzed a number of different options. What we're narrowing down into is more of a cycle track design, so there will be no bike lanes on Bloor Street, but rather unidirectional cycle tracks on the north and south side. So that's sort of where, and so by default of those are protected cycling lanes because they're not directly mixed with live traffic lanes. And as part of the design, we're not proposing to make any adjustments to the cross section of the road itself. So it would be retained as a 4-lane cross section on Bloor Street.
Okay.
So just on that, Councillor, go ahead.
No, okay. I just, so basically it's making the road safer for the people that are cycling on the road. And I'm not really sure what negative impacts there would be on motorists then, or people getting out of their driveways that there wouldn't be today with a cyclist on the road. Just means you have to stop and look both ways, which you do anyway for pedestrians. But I know Councillor Fonseca, we have spoken about this quite a bit because we have similar projects going on, except mine's narrowing the lanes on my road. But, I think we've always said that, and staff have always said that we need to look at our Vision Zero strategy that Council has endorsed, which means zero collisions. And I'm quite comfortable that staff and the councillor are going to be looking at, whatever measures are taken here, that there be zero collisions or risk of life to pedestrians, motorists, and cyclists. And you can't ignore one over the other two. So, I'm quite comfortable with staff continuing their review on this and support Councillor Fonseca as she moves forward on reviewing the process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Councillor Sato. Just before we move on, there are other people on the board, other councillors on the board to speak. Diana, I wanted to confirm there is another deputant, correct? Is she on?
With this speaker?
Yeah, or can
Christina, yeah, she's available to speak as well, and then we can have everybody ask the questions together.
Yeah, so I apologize.
7.5.
She said she is under 7.5. So yeah. I hope all the other councillors are okay with pausing to hear from Christina Kelly before we open it up to further questions. So if the councillors can hold their questions, I would appreciate that. Okay, so Christina, you can go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Hi, I'm Christina Kells. Thank you for listening to me before you continue with your questions. I do have to get back to work, so I'm kind of stressed about that. So I've been a resident of this community for 6 years, and I've lived in Mississauga 36 years. As a child, I was hit by a speeding motorcycle while riding my bike in a nearby neighborhood to this one. I experienced a loss of consciousness, and I also had a concussion. So I have a few comments, and I also sent a letter to Councillor Fonseca. So people in our city do cycle, and this is not going to change, and cyclists need to be kept safe. And communities have a responsibility, government with their infrastructure, and residents with awareness and respect. Cars have benefited from road infrastructure as all the roads are designed to keep traffic safe with lanes, speed limits, barriers, lights, and signs. And cars themselves have evolved to become more safe with airbags and seatbelts. As well, the community is kept safe, including with awareness campaigns like not to drink and drive. However, cyclists remain vulnerable to injury in contrast. I'm a cyclist for exercise and also for transportation to get to work. I do not ride on Bloor. I will use the sidewalk to ride on Bloor, or I will just walk my bike on Bloor. In other words, the cycling environment is dangerous for me, and I think we could all agree that Bloor Street is a risky street for cycling. I think we may disagree on how to make this a safer street for cyclists. People do cycle and they're not going to stop. I do not understand the lobby that is suggesting that bike lanes will make cycling more dangerous. I think they need to provide data or facts that demonstrate this before you can accept their lobby. I do not know what the solution is, but the benefit of bike lanes is that there's a designated space for cyclists, and motor vehicles are visually aware of this space and hopefully will respect the lane. Even when there is no bike in the lane, the motor vehicles are aware that biking takes place and to be alert to cyclists. When more cyclists see the lanes as decreasing the risk of cycling, bike traffic may increase, which further increases awareness in the community to be respectful to bikes. I do not bike on Bloor Street. The cars are too close and in a hurry. Bloor Street is a connection to two main streets, and this neighborhood has at least 8 schools, which do generate traffic and traffic congestion. I do not think this is solely a neighborhood issue, as many in Mississauga travel through this neighborhood for school, work, for business, and recreation. When I travel Bloor, as I do to get to Toronto, it is incredibly stressful with traffic and intersections and risk. Poor cycling conditions are unfair, but this is another concern. A bike is not a car or a pedestrian, and cyclists need certain conditions for safety and for comfortable travel. I believe the city of Mississauga has a biking section with volunteers that are familiar with bike lanes and trails in this city. I believe this group would be a good resource for guiding the development of bike lanes or trails on Bloor, understanding the community issues as a whole, and able to provide accurate data. The region of Peel promotes active transportation in schools and the development of infrastructure for safety. They work with the local city traffic councils. With regards to schools, both of these government organizations are resources for facts and decision-making. Without safe infrastructure, these schools may not fully participate in healthy activities like biking. Applewood Heights Secondary School is an example of a school with many bike racks and many bikers. Also, Glen Forest Secondary School has numerous bike racks that are being used. Because of the direction in government to support active transportation, cyclists will increase, and especially with regards to children and youth, their safety is a priority. During the pandemic, biking has also increased. Because it is healthy, this is great, but it is not great if someone gets hit by a car and injured. Getting hit by a motor vehicle has lifelong implications and needs to be prevented by everyone. And cycling should not be a risk to injury or death. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Christina. If you can hold, and I do hope that Athena is still with us now that the two deputations have been made. And just to confirm, Diana, there are no other deputations, correct?
No,
okay.
It was just the two.
Thank you. All right, so we will go to Councillor Parrish, then Councillor Carlson, and then Councillor Kovac.
Speak to 14.1, and I don't have any questions for Christina. If she needs to get to work, if the others don't, you should let her go. Thank you, Christina. That was a terrific presentation. My comments on 14.1 are, we put bike lanes on Morningstar up in Malton before we even put the stop cameras in there. And I was amazed at how it slowed the traffic down. It narrows the roadway. It makes people more aware of other people using the road, like cyclists and people walking on the sidewalks even. And when you're backing out of driveways, I've been told by some of the residents on Morningstar, they're doubly careful now because they know a bicycle can come by quickly, as a walker you can see coming quite a ways away. So I think it's a safety thing if the bike lanes are installed properly. And I just wanted to make sure you understood that it's made a huge difference on Morningstar. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Parrish. Councillor Carlson.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Chair. I can also confirm in Streetsville, which is as busy a little town as any other part of the city, I would think, bike lanes went down Queen Street. I was kind of holding my breath, thinking, all the center plaza and all the private driveways and every sort of configuration of private driveway along that stretch. And we installed the bike lanes along there. I haven't had, I'm trying to rack my brain, zero complaint since they went in. Ditto for along Bristol Road on my way to work. I see a busy lane like on Bristol, bikes using them all the time. And I just have one question. I don't know much about constitutional law, but I'll just ask something about traffic law, which to maybe Jeff can answer. When these increased markings go in, and I would hazard a guess that it increases awareness of cyclists and adds a relative some measurement of safety, rather than just having people riding bikes where they hope they can fit in and sneak past and so forth. So maybe, I don't know, perhaps you can't give a comment on like the stats on it, but anecdotally, do you find in markings and so forth improve safety with it, or are you just better off taking your chance of going down the road without any markings?
Councillor Carlson. Councillor, and I think this was referenced earlier today, but there are cyclists today that bike along Bloor, and one of the deputations this morning speak to that experience. And in absence of dedicated cycling infrastructure, some motorists would not be aware that there would be cyclists there, so they're not being as cautious, perhaps, and looking for those cyclists where they would be if they have dedicated cycling facilities and are used to that. So I think to answer your question, the literature and our experience says yes, providing dedicated safe cycling infrastructure improves the overall road safety of the corridor itself. In absence of that, cyclists are left to fend for themselves, whether that's jockeying for space in the curb lane beside in this case high volumes of vehicles and buses, or on the sidewalk, which was also referenced, and in that case that creates another layer of safety concerns when you're mixing pedestrians and cyclists. So our goal at the end of the day is aligned with Vision Zero and road safety, and that is to provide dedicated safe cycling infrastructure, and to also increase the overall road safety of the corridor by slowing vehicles down and ensuring that there's proper pedestrian space for everyone.
Well, thanks very much. I was a slow adapter to the cycling phenomena, and over time have become very supportive of it, in that I think it's, in the best sense of the word, traffic calming indeed. And the awareness, as soon as the bike lanes go in, I mean, I get calls about what are we supposed to do? Can we cross them? Can we turn into our driveway? And I said, use your good judgment. I'm assuming you have it to make a turn or back out of a driveway and so forth. So anecdotally, that's my experience, is that it increases safety in the neighborhood. Where I can't preclude that absolutely no one will ever have an accident. That's just too much to ask for, I'm sure. But generally speaking, I've found that wherever cyclists are introduced, the general safety of the neighborhood goes up. And so I'm glad that you could confirm that for me, because that certainly has been my experience in the last 15, 20 years or so. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Carlson. Next on the list is Councillor Kovac.
Chair, I would like to first acknowledge and thank both deputants for expressing their comments and providing feedback. As a councillor just located west of, I guess, what the petition is referring to, Bloor Street, in between Dixie and Cawthra, and that's a stretch within Ward 3. Within Ward 4, it would begin Cawthra and then going westbound all the way to about Central Parkway. And so to the team and staff within our Transportation and Works Department, they, of course, would be well aware of our joint community meetings that we've been holding, Ward 4, Ward 3, so Councillor Fonseca and myself with the team from Transportation and Works, and the many residents who've been to date on and have joined our town hall meetings. We've had 2, and I know that the reach was quite effective because of how many people we had. We had mail-outs that went to all the doors, people living along the corridor of Bloor Street, in houses, in the townhouse complexes, even within the apartment buildings. And we know that because of the feedback that we got during the meeting and after the fact. So we know that people were definitely reached by that outreach. So I would say this project is one of efficiency, trying to, rather than 2 birds with a stone, I'd say it's probably 4 or 5 with 1 stone. I think that this is reflective of the kind of efficiency we're seeking from the city's end, whether it's improving upon infrastructure within this corridor, effectively revamping Bloor Street, complete with a repaving after the fact. Noise attenuation walls are being looked at, new tree lining, so replacement and addition of trees. And one component of that, of course, is the added cycling lanes, which will run that corridor from Central Parkway in Ward 4, eastbound through Cawthra into Ward 3, and then, I suppose, ending at Dixie. I've had quite a bit of feedback, a lot of positive, as much as there appears to be some negative. And some of that could be as a result of concern, fear of the unknown, but I would assure those who are concerned that we are going to get this right. We are focusing on slowing down speeds in every street, or on every street within the city, and Bloor is one of those. So with controlled and slowed down speeds, we anticipate and certainly hope that as a result, vehicular speeds will be coming down and safety will be increased. So Bloor Street, we very much have our eye on that and the improving of safety on Bloor Street. So anybody who is concerned, thank you, but we're very optimistic with our approach. Also, Councillor Fonseca might make mention of this. We are planning a 3rd virtual town hall meeting for all of the residents living on and off of Bloor Street, who will be either directly or indirectly impacted by this project, Bloor Street Road Integrated Project. And so I would encourage, for word of mouth, spread it out if you are interested in attending, and certainly come out if you have attended the 1st and the 2nd meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kovac. I'm just looking to see no other hands raised. So I will just now take the opportunity and time to again thank Athena, Tagadu, and the along with Manjula Das, who submitted the petition, along with the AHRA for attending the two virtual community meetings and providing very constructive feedback to staff, as well as obviously through this petition raising concerns, as Councillor Kovac has referenced. There's still a lot of unknowns. I also want to say thank you to Christina for taking the time out of her day to attend and also provide an additional voice and perspective on this integrated project. I hope that the AHRA, Athena, Manjula, and all of those that have signed on to the petition, as well as Christina, will attend the third community meeting, virtual meeting that Councillor Kovac has referenced. And just for a point of context, when staff brought forward this integrated project proposal and next steps and timeline, we were both very clear to staff that we wanted to ensure that residents had every opportunity to not only be informed, but participate in what they see as a vision for Bloor Street. As Councillor Kovac has referenced, we really have a chance here to get this right through an integrated process. And through the first community meeting, the reach went out to 9,000 unique addresses. At the second community meeting, again, 9,000 unique addresses were invited through a postcard to attend. And at our request, there will be a third community meeting. As councillors have pointed out, it is important to address, and as Councillor Sato has pointed out, to address all the road users through our Vision Zero principles. Extremely important. I do want to say a big thank you to all of the staff who took the time or have taken the time to date to work with myself and Councillor Kovac and the community, the communities in Ward 3 and Ward 4 who have been made aware and will be impacted to the positive by the Bloor Integrated Project. And I want to move, I guess, receipt of the petition here today with direction, and move receipt of the two deputations with direction to staff to ensure that they bring back to the third community meeting that is being held an alternative that addresses all of the concerns raised when it comes to the safety of pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists, businesses, those fronting onto Bloor Street, and the other concerns that have been raised, or the other review requests that have been raised that Councillor Kovac referenced when it comes to the noise walls, the tree canopy, the pedestrian crossings, and most importantly, to ensure that we are calming and lowering the speeds on Bloor Street. So with that, I think I only need to move direction or move receipt of the two deputations and the petition, and direction to staff to ensure that at that third community meeting, there is an alternative design that encompasses the feedback heard not only through the petition and the deputations here today, but also all through the project website and at the initial 2 community meetings. Is that procedurally correct, Diana?
It's perfect.
Okay. So I need an all in favor from everyone of moving receipt of the deputations and the petition. Thank you very much.